Welcome to the Edge of Hebrides. This is the WINFL show. I'm your host, Ian McKinnon. I'm joined this week by, in no particular order, Mr. Dave Somerville. How are you doing, Mr. Dave Somerville?
Wow, I'm first, yeah. I'm very happy to be here as always and looking forward to a great podcast.
Yes, we also have Patrick Jackson rejoining us. Good to see you again, Patrick.
Yeah, got some big boots to fill after your last pair of excellent guests, so glad to be back.
And we have the WWE Intercontinental Champion, Jake McGee. Right, I'm sure there's a story about why you have a WWE Intercontinental Champion belt, which you are showing off to us now. Please, enlighten us with the story.
Obviously, I entered the Royal Rumble, won the Royal Rumble, challenged the Intercontinental. No, my best friend bought me it for my birthday.
Nice.
We were always talking, what's your favourite title? And everyone, has their favourite title. And mine was always the old school Intercontinental Championship.
Wonderful. See, I have noticed it the last couple of times we've been on, just sort of sitting behind you on the couch there. And I was like, what is that belt he's got? So that now we know it's a WWE Intercontinental Champion belt, as modeled by Jake McGee. There we are. Right, gentlemen, we are on the NFC East, no less. We're doing a deep dive in this one, and we're going to jump straight into it. So what we'll do is I'll have a quick look through what happened in last year's NFC East. 2024 was, of course, won by the Philadelphia Eagles, who ended up being eventual Super Bowl champions. They had a 14-3 record. Second place was the surprising Washington Commanders with a 12-5 record. The Dallas Cowboys came third with a 7-10 record. And bringing up the rear was the New York Football Giants with a 3-14 record. And we're going to start with the first place Philadelphia Eagles. Jake McGee, the Eagles were your team. We all watched them last year. We had plenty of opportunity to watch the Eagles. They went all the way to the Super Bowl. They won the Super Bowl. Saquon Barkley was immense. Probably should have got MVP, except to keep giving it to quarterbacks. But this Eagles team was phenomenal last year. Tell us about the 2024 and what are you looking for in 2025?
Absolutely, and I am not the only person ready to defend a belt, because the Eagles will look to become the first team in, 20 years to actually repeat win the NFC East, because it's a tumultuous league. When it's been bad, it was bad, and when it's been good, it's been good. And obviously, we've seen some of the teams that we'll discuss afterwards, what they've done this year. The Eagles have the 29th toughest strength of schedule. And looking at it, it's not going to be as easy as you may think. They might have a stacked roster. And yes, they only lost one coordinator this year instead of two. But from the opening 5 games, Thursday Night Football opening against the Cowboys, they play at the Chiefs, home to the Rams, at the Bucks, and versus the Broncos. I don't think you're going to find many tougher 5-game stretches. And then they've got their Week 9 bye. And after that, they have at the Packers on Monday Night Football, Lions on Sunday Night Football, at the Cowboys, versus the Bears on Black Friday, and then at the Chargers on Monday Night Football. Gets worse. To end the season, at Commanders, at Bills, home Commanders. I mean, there's just so many runs on this schedule where you're thinking, okay, Super Bowl champions, great roster, put them in for 15 wins. And then you look at the schedule and go, oh, maybe not. The over-under is set at 11.5. It's just not a good thing on paper. They faced 10 playoff teams, 7 of them being on the road. So the first team since 1993 Bills to face all 4 of their postseason opponents in the following season. It's just ridiculous. They obviously lost quite a bit of depth as well. We talked about how deep their roster was, but they can't keep everybody. So they lost the likes of Becton, Burks, Sweat, Williams, Slay, Bradbury. They picked up some kind of key small signings I really like. Josh Uche on a great deal. Kenyon Green, is he going to do the Micaiah Becton and go to the Jeff Stoutland University and become a good offensive lineman all of a sudden? Very possibly. picked up a couple of Bears in Azeez Ojulari, and I think they picked up Adoree Jackson as well. So they've got to hope these guys can contribute, and then they extended, Cam Jurgens, Zach Bourne, Saquon Barkley, Lane Johnson. So they have the core. They're hoping these guys can come in and just kind of fill the gaps. Great team, great roster, terrible schedule, tough division. So we'll see. Can the Eagles run it back? Not just can they get to the Super Bowl, can they win the division again?
And Dave, the thing with the Eagles, it is going to be really difficult to win this division. Not just because of the history. As Jake said, it's like 20 years since an NFC East champion repeated. But the Eagles have lost some pieces, not necessarily superstars. They've still got the superstars. But behind those guys, they're a little bit thinner this year than they might have been last year. And whilst we don't wish an injury on anyone, if, the worst does happen and maybe someone goes down, there's not a lot behind what you would consider to be the stars there in Philadelphia. What do you reckon? Can they repeat as NFC East champions? And, eventually they'll hope to get back to the Super Bowl.
NFC champions for sure. I think there's still a huge gulf between them. I know the Commanders massively improved last year. A fully fit Dallas will definitely be a huge markup on what was last year's horrific showing. Let's ignore the Giants. I don't see any of the teams challenging them just yet. I think they're they're a few pieces too short. I agree 100% what you're saying. I would even go as far as say in the quarterback position, because Hurts doesn't get a whole lot of credit, and he's not by any stretch of the imagination overrated whatsoever. I think he's a absolute. I think he's all. Yeah, I'd go as far as say he's as important as Saquon Barkley is to them. Saquon Barkley is their attacker going forward. Jalen Hurts is their commander. He is their field general, and he is so important. One of these guys goes down, is going to have a huge impact, absolutely massive impact. I would even say that Jalen Hurts would have a bigger impact than Saquon Barkley, and we know what Saquon was able to do last year. It's just immense play at the running back that we haven't seen in years, in my own humble opinion. However, I agree with you. They don't have as much depth as they did before. I still think they're going to borderline walk this division. But yeah, it's going to be fun. I think the few adjustments that Philly have are going to have an impact, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see. But also a potential resurgent Dallas and a Washington that, if they can pick up from where they were last season, maybe they will challenge the Eagles.
And Patrick, Dave's talking about Dallas and Washington there, and we will get onto these teams. But the Eagles did have a good run of it last year. They won some games in spectacular fashion where they just absolutely crushed their opponents. But there was other games where you looked at them and went, do you know what? They are a very beatable team. In the end, it didn't matter. They went all the way to the Super Bowl and they obliterated the Chiefs with, let's be honest, a 4-man rush. They that's it. They won that Super Bowl. But is that sustainable? Because in the manner in which the Eagles won a fair number of their games last year, can you do that again to get all the way to the Super Bowl and perhaps even repeat as Super Bowl champions? What do you make of the Eagles 2025?
Their starting roster looks as formidable as ever. They kept all of their main pieces together, shed a few veteran starters from last year, but guys who are probably past the prime of their career, thinking particularly in the secondary and somewhat on the defensive line. And the players who are stepping into those starting roles are players that, for the most part, were already on the roster and have proven themselves capable. So they won't be worried about their starters, I don't think. As Dave says, if you lose a starting quarterback, every team in the league's in trouble. If you lose a starting running back, I think the drop-off in Philadelphia is larger than it is for a lot of teams, with Will Shipley and A.J. Dillon behind Barkley. But yeah, so that would be a big loss. But if I was an Eagles fan, my biggest concern would be that offensive line room, because a couple of injuries there, and you're back to either guys who haven't looked great elsewhere that they brought in as free agents, or very low round draft picks, undrafted guys who they brought in on athletic profile, hoping to coach up in their system, as Jake mentioned. So, yeah, that would be my biggest concern, is if that offensive line gamble doesn't pay off for them, because it only takes a couple of injuries to really expose that. And if you lose the abilities of that line, that harms your quarterback and it harms your run game, and your whole offense can fall apart. So that would be the biggest concern for me. And it will be interesting to see what difference Kellen Moore moving on makes as well, and whether they've replaced him well. But the guy who came in for Moore was in the system of multiple years in that coaching setup anyway. So again, they've set the conveyor very sensibly there, as they seem to do across the organisation.
Yeah, and it's the curse of every Super Bowl winner, or every team that, you know, does really well and makes a championship game, is that your coordinators, particularly if they're younger guys or guys who've not had head coaching opportunities before, they're going to get snaffled. They're going to get pinched. It's going to happen. Teams that hang on to their coordinators for any length of time, you know, it's good for them, but you do tend to find it's guys with older coordinators who have maybe even already tried head coaching and are like, you know what, it's not for me. I'm happier being a coordinator. So the Eagles have done better this year than in previous years where they lost just everyone out the door. We'll need to wait and see how this translates for them in 2025. But we're going to move on. We come to our next team, which was the Washington Commanders. Oh, actually, sorry, I beg your pardon. I went through the Philadelphia Eagles and I didn't tell you their points. What am I doing here, guys? Philadelphia Eagles in 2024 scored 463 points. That was 7th best in the NFL. They allowed 303, which was 2nd best in the NFL, giving them a points differential of 160, positive 160. So very good for Philadelphia there. But we're going to move on. Washington Commanders, 12-5. They scored 485 points, which is 5th best in the NFL. They allowed 391, which is 18th in the NFL in defense. So they had a differential of 94 points for 12-5. Patrick, the Washington Commanders. Last year, it was all about Jaden Daniels. Rookie quarterback. Rookie quarterback.
No,
spectacular season. Give us your thoughts on the Washington Commanders 2024 and, of course, 2025. What do you expect?
I mean, it's fair to say the Commanders were further ahead in their rebuild than everyone expected, and the resurgence in the post-Snyder era has gone very swiftly. And they were compensating for some problems in the team last year. I think the run game was mediocre, but buoyed by the new quarterback and the way he worked the field. Defensively, the defensive back room struggled at times, and they've made changes to that over the off-season, so they clearly identified that as an issue. And if we'd been having this conversation just after the draft, I'd have been much more high on the Commanders than I have been in the last maybe month or so. So it looked like, you know, they'd addressed some of their issues from last season. They brought in players like Javon Kinlaw and Von Miller to bulk up the D-line. They did move on from Jonathan Allen, which surprised me because he was a real stalwart defensive leader in that defensive line room. But I guess they considered that for the price and his age, they were better off moving on. Although if you're moving on to Von Miller, maybe not. They added Will Harris into the secondary. That'll help bulk things up there. So yeah, it was interesting to see them shaking things together. And then they've had this nagging Terry McLaurin contract situation going on over the latter part of the off-season. And yes, they brought in Deebo Samuel. They got Noah Brown in last year. Luke McCaffrey's getting better as he moved into his second season. They've got KJ Osborne, Michael Gallup back out of retirement. So it's got a lot of depth to it, that receiving core, but without Terry McLaurin, and if Debo can't step back up to what he was pre-injuries and moving over from the 49ers, that could really blunt their attack. They haven't done much in the running back room to make it any better than last year, so that will be coming down to, has the offensive line play improved to facilitate that running game? And they brought in Laramie Tunsil from the Texans, which should surely help. Their first round draft pick was Josh Connolly Jr., who is currently slated second on the depth chart behind Andrew Wiley. I imagine he won't be second for long, having seen Andrew Wiley play over the years. So, yeah, they've set themselves up to have another postseason run. It will be difficult for them to achieve as well as they achieved last season. And particularly if they don't get their wide receiver one situation sorted out, I would be concerned for how deep they can go into the postseason.
And Jake, the thing with the Commanders is, I'm going to do something now which I try not to do. I'm going to bring my own team in as a comparison, because rookie quarterback, there's a marked difference in what we are seeing Sean Payton doing in Denver in the offseason and what we're seeing in Washington with the way the pieces have been put together. This Terry McLaurin thing is going on far too long. Far too long. And, Patrick says they bring in Debo, and everyone's like, hang on, if we get Debo and Scary Terry on the same offense, on the field at the same time, that can be absolutely terrifying. Only if you get McLaurin back. And if they don't get this sorted out, and you will see one of the other NFC East teams having their own contract issues with a star player, Terry McLaurin is their best offensive weapon. You can argue that it's Jaden Daniels, but Terry McLaurin is their best offensive weapon. Why have they not got this sorted out? And if they don't manage to get it sorted out, what can we expect from the Commanders 2025, Jake?
Well, one of my favorite kind of quote retweets regarding the Terry McLaurin trade request was, I know a team who's, in the playoff hunt with a young quarterback who could really do with Terry McLaurin. It's the Washington Commanders. He's in the perfect place for all the Washington Commanders. You'd think both sides would be happy. Terry McLaurin has played with some horrendous quarterback play, and he's not complained. He's just bucked up, gone for 1,000 yards. Thank you very much. He finally gets a good quarterback, and he's like, hey, you're going to pay me, right? He's on a rookie deal. I'm great. He's great. What's the holdup? It's bizarre to me, and they need him because despite the Giants' strength of schedule, which we'll get onto later, I would say the Commanders have the worst of it. They've got a 19th strength of schedule, but their prep is 30th worst. I mean, I'll run you through week 5 until their bye. At the Chargers, Monday Night Football against the Bears, who are coming off their bye, at the Cowboys. At the Chiefs on Monday Night Football, versus the Seahawks on Sunday Night Football, who are coming off their bye, versus the Lions. Then they're at Dolphins in Madrid. That's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And we'll say this, and it will happen in a lot of these deep dives. It comes down to the division games. Well, guess what? The only team in the NFL to finish this year with 4 consecutive division games, the Washington Commanders. They play Eagles, Cowboys at Eagles. It's ridiculous. It's going to be very important at the end of the season, and you need someone like Terry McLaurin the entire season, but especially in these key games, because he's going to be Jaden Daniels' number 1 target.
And it's not like he's asking for ridiculous money either. He's asking for a reasonable amount for a receiver who's been as productive as he has. So,
well, as Jake says, it's not like Jamar Chase when you've got Joe Burrow throwing you the ball. It's not like that at all. McLaurin has performed at an exceptionally high level with some fairly rotten quarterback play, with no offense to the quarterbacks who were there before Jaden Daniels came in. But the play was terrible. And now they get to an NFC Championship game and, they just fell short of making a Super Bowl. And as Jake says, right, quarterback's on a rookie contract, so pay me. You don't need to pay him for another 3 years. Give me my money. And they're dragging their heels on this. And Dave, the Commanders, obviously, it's a lot better than it was under Dan Snyder. We know this, okay? It couldn't have got any worse than it was. But we're still seeing this This is the main thing. This is the Terry McLaurin thing is the main talking point in Washington because he's such a vital part of this offense. If he's not there come week 1, questions are seriously going to be asked, and they're going to be asked of Jaden Daniels as well, to say, right, you don't have the best weapon, we want you to do more, despite the fact you had one of the best rookie seasons of all time. What do you think that might do for a young quarterback, Dave?
I mean, these young quarterbacks do need experience around them and leaders, and I think Terry McLaurin is a proven leader. With that being said, for the information that I was seeing that was coming out was that the Commanders were offering around between 26 and 27 million a year to McLaurin. Now, he was wanting just over 30. These are all allegedly, shall we put out there. Now, one of the things that was pointed out was a drop-off after the wide receivers hit a certain age, and that age will be 30. Now, McLaurin is 29. So they're going to be looking at that. Now, the average drop-off, again, allegedly, around the ages of 30 or 31 is around 50% at wide receiver position. So if they're looking to offer him a contract, I would be looking at a kind of 3-year deal. Give him the 30 million. Give yourselves an out at the end of year 3 or maybe in year 4 if you want to do like a 4-1, but make it where it's heavily in the team's favor. If he wants the 30 million a year, but you've got a window right now to really perform for the next 2 years with Scary Terry there, being wide receiver 1 to Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is. He's kind of on that. He's got momentum on his side right now because he's coming off a brilliant rookie year. Mm-hmm. If that momentum stops, I would be worried for them for that regress back to what they were. Maybe not quite as bad.
Yeah, they're not going to be as bad as they were. Yeah,
no, but since 2000, I think it's about a quarter of their seasons have been plus 500. That's like 6 of the past 24, 25 seasons have been plus 500, something along those lines. They need something in Washington. It's the company sold for the team sold for about $6.5 billion or something. You can afford 30 million. Just bring out your pocket change. That is.
Well, yeah, because we all talk about the cap, but as we know, and as Jake loves to say, cap's a mess. They have accountants who can just move stuff around, kick it down the road. If they were worried about paying Terry McLaurin, they'd be able to find the money from somewhere. It's not even if they're going to be over the cap, but he's not looking for Jamar Chase money. He should be. I'm not saying he is as good as Jamar Chase, but he is as valuable to this Washington team.
To the team, as Jamar Chase top value. Yeah,
to the Bengals. I mean, how many? We did our wide receivers. I can't remember where we ranked Terry McLaurin in our top wide receivers. I don't think it was that high.
Probably not as high as we should have had.
But from a Washington point of view, this guy they need to get this sorted out. Because if they don't, if this is still hanging them over them come kickoff, then they're doing something wrong. I don't think it will, but if it is, something far wrong going on in Washington there.
Can I also point out that every season, except from his rookie year, he had over 1,000 yards. And that includes, I think it was 2021, I was reading earlier, when the quarterbacks, like Taylor Heineke was QB1, QB2 was Kyle Allen, and, he still managed to get 1,000-yard season with them. Like, Heineke's exciting, but he's not ideal. And then his rookie season, Case Keenum was, I think, QB1. So that's exactly why he was there.
Well, I'll tell you, I know there's a team over in Kansas City who would love a good wide receiver. If Washington decide not to sign him, just saying. Let's hope that never happens.
Well, it was the Bills that I saw that were potentials as well. So you never know.
Yeah, they'd love it. They'd love that. That'll be a good fit for them. We're going to move on, gentlemen. We come to the next team in our division. It was the Dallas Cowboys. Last year, Dallas went 7-10. They scored 350 points, which was 21st in the NFL. They allowed, Jake loves this, 468. I think half of that was the Saints. That was the 31st. They were second to last in the NFL in points allowed. Negative 118 on the season for the Dallas Cowboys. As we know, they released Mike McCarthy. Right? He's gone. I think they did that in January. McCarthy, boom, you're away. Thank you very much. They brought in Matt Eberflus as defensive coordinator. A guy that, like we're talking about, there's some coordinators out there who just shouldn't be head coaches. I think it's fairly safe to say Eberflus is one of them. Brian Schottenheimer gets promoted to head coach from offensive coordinator, so they brought in Clayton Adams, who was the Arizona offensive line coach, as offensive coordinator, which I think is an interesting move for an offensive line coach straight to OC there. But last year, the Cowboys were 2-7 at home, which is awful. They went 0-2 against the Eagles, and those two games, the Eagles outscored them 75-13. Those two games against the Eagles. But they took some absolute beatings at home. Jake Saints, as I mentioned. The Houston Texans crushed them. The Detroit Lions dropped 41-7 on them in Dallas. This was unheard of over the past few years. Cowboys always had a good home record. Away from home, not so good. But, in Jerry World, they were always tough. I think the year before, but they're not unbeaten the year before at home. Last year was an absolute disaster for them. So in the draft, they drafted offensive lineman Tyler Booker of Alabama. And then they brought in defensive end Donovan Eziruaka from Boston College in the second round. We'll go with that. I like that one. Just call him Donovan E. It's better. They brought in running back Javonte Williams from Denver. They brought in defensive end Dante Fowler from Washington. They brought in Miles Sanders from Carolina, who came off a injury sort of riddled season. He went to Carolina, it didn't work out. That's not the first time we've ever said that about a player. No offense to our Panthers fans. They brought in wide receiver George Pickens in the trade to Pittsburgh, and of course Joe Milton III, quarterback from New England. That was a big one. Going out, they didn't actually lose a lot of players. The Cowboys, you'd think, because they had such a disappointing season, that they would have done. Guard Jack Anderson was released. Earl Bostic Jr., the tackle, he was out. Malik Davis, running back. However, on the PUP list, they recently put on Josh Butler and Trayvon Diggs. Now, I know we have a laugh at Trayvon Diggs. He led the league in interceptions because he was targeted 500 times. We get it. But that was pretty much two of the best defensive backs. They're both on the PUP list going into preseason here. And Patrick, I'll throw it over to you first. The Dallas Cowboys, it's Micah Parsons. It's like Terry McLaurin, but it's Micah Parsons. This has been going on. This is even worse than the Terry McLaurin one. This is a saga because this has been all over social media. This has been everywhere. There's no escaping it. They need to sign Micah Parsons. I'm sure they will, but they have to. If they don't, oh my word, that's the biggest travesty that we'll have seen this offseason. Patrick Jackson, Dallas Cowboys, 2024, 2025. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It hinges on Parsons and Jerry Jones' old school insistence on how he's handling that contract negotiation and the things he said in the media publicly about what should be a private in the background process have not helped matters. Calling him Michael Parsons probably didn't help matters either, but maybe that's why the negotiations haven't gone wrong. He's doing it with the wrong person. It sounds like he's trying to bypass Parsons' agent and do the negotiations with him face to face, which Parsons rightly isn't happy with. That's why you have an agent. And it really feels like butchering handling your most important player on defense and having drafted such a gem to mess up making him a player for the lifetime of his career is really a travesty of running an organization. And with that cloud swirling over everything and a lot of Injuries scattered across the board in key areas. There's a couple of the established defensive linemen struggling to get back for the start of the season, and that never bodes well. Yes, they've added some weapons in the receiving room. That will help. They've refreshed that running back room, which was turgid last season. But it remains to be seen whether it can all be pulled back together. It all seems pretty dysfunctional at the moment.
It does, and Dave, big changes to coaching. Obviously, with Schottenheimer being promoted to head coach, and Eberflus coming in as defensive coordinator. So you've got a new defensive coordinator, you've got a new offensive coordinator, you've got a new head coach. They do still have, the quarterback's still there, and they've got CeeDee Lamb. And I think, and I'm convinced, if Javonte Williams can get back to his pre-injury form, he'll have a great time in Dallas. But there's so much going on with this team. It's going to be difficult to see. I mean, I'm assuming they're going to sign Parsons, because I can't see a scenario where they don't. But it's going to be difficult to see how they can actually challenge. I think it's maybe a year early for the Cowboys to be going for that NFC East title. Dave, what do you think?
Yes, I agree with that. The last statement there. It's at least 1 year too early. But I think you can see what Jerry Jones' strategy is with the coaching anyway, is that he's got an offensive-minded head coach, an experienced offensive-minded head coach. He's got an experienced defensive coordinator. He's then, perhaps you could even say, got the next generation of offensive coordinator coming through, being promoted to his OC. Obviously, Schottenheimer is probably going to be running the offense primarily, with the offensive coordinator, being number 2. That's some positive backroom changes. Parsons, it should have been evident enough what we saw last season, the difference that man made when he came back from injury to that entire defense. It would look like a different team with one different man coming in. And nobody could stop Michael Parsons. He was like just a raging bull. And he deserves every single penny of what he should be getting. I don't understand if this. We're still waiting for the all in. I'm still waiting for it. Everyone else is still waiting for Jerry Jones to be all in. Absolute silly thing to say. Well, it wasn't the word I was going to use, but anyway, we'll move quite swiftly on. Well, the last thing I would say though is that with Parsons, obviously, if he's not going to get paid, if they're not going to make him feel special and put their arm around him and say, there, you are definitely the best, and we're going to fix this. What's next? What's the potential? What's his options? What are his options? Because his options are, it would take an enormous package for a team to trade for him and cut the Cowboys to let him go.
There's no way. There's no way, Jake. I'll throw it over to you. There isn't a team who can afford him. Who can afford the draft capital, or who would give it up, the draft capital for a guy like Michael Parsons. It's just really frustrating, Jake, because they made Dak the highest paid player in the NFL. They forked out a ton of money to CeeDee Lamb. And you're like, well, why are you dragging your heels on what is by far and away your best player? And it's not even close. What do you think of the Cowboys, Jake?
Well, they're learning from their mistakes as they go, because they've paid Jake Ferguson early. And they're like, oh, so you know how to do it. You've paid Jake Ferguson before he really explodes. Mm-hmm. You've paid him a good fair market deal, but better for you. If you'd done this with Mike Parsons, a year ago, we wouldn't be in this situation. And there would be pandemonium in that locker room if they even picked up the phone for a trade. He's a locker room leader. You've already seen it with when he posts and the replies and the likes. If they traded him, tools would be downed and there would be several trade requests. So it doesn't even cross my mind that he'll get traded. They'll figure it out. Yeah. But dragging it on, and you're going to end up spending more money on it than you would have if you just sat down at the table the first time. I mean, absolutely bonkers. It will get sorted. It's just more Cowboys in the media. kind of looking at this season ahead, though, and the schedule-wise, you would say they've arguably got the best of it in the NFC East. They have a tough run, kind of week 12, week 16, where they play the Eagles and they play the Chiefs on Thanksgiving, at the Lions on Thursday Night Football, and then the Vikings on Sunday Night Football.
That's tough.
Yeah, and then they play the Chargers before at the Commanders and at the Giants to close the season. So a couple of tough stretches. For me, obviously, George Pickens, huge pickup. Zach Martin retiring is, gigantic. But
I didn't even mention that. Yeah.
All signs point to Tyler Booker being just an absolutely great guy in the locker room, great leader, that he can come in and kind of try and fill that void. And I think that's kind of what they've tried to do for the most part, because, DeMarcus Lawrence, Brandon Cooks, Rico Dowdle all left. Well, they picked up Dennis Julia, Peyton Turner, Solomon Thomas, Jaden Blue in the draft. So they've kind of just tried to replenish the roster, and they've got a really good team and hopefully some good coaches if you've got Micah Parsons. And that is what it all comes down to.
It is, but you're right. No, they're not going to trade. They'll never trade him. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But he can hold out or hold in.
Yeah, that's more likely.
And it's not like the Le'Veon Bell situation from years ago, where he's like, "Oh well, if you're not going to pay me, I'm just going to sit here." And they went, "On you go, then. You sit there." And the other fella came in,
Najee Harris,
1,000 yards. There you go. No bother. We don't need you, Le'Veon. This is not like that. As Dave mentioned, when Parsons came back in fact, I think what was his first game back, not against the Commanders. I think it was, and he had like 2 sacks on the first 2 dropbacks. And you're thinking,
That's right.
My,
yeah.
we covered it on our live stream last year. The man is an absolute monster. They need to get this done. I did see something which made me laugh before we move on to the next team. And Dave, you'll love this. I saw something on X, which was Aaron Donald had tweeted saying that the Rams are interested in Micah Parsons, trade for Micah Parsons. And Aaron Donald saying, if that happens, then I'm going to get unretired and come back. And I was like, oh, hey, no, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We do not want that. I know Dave wants that, but no one else wants that. Oh, my
God,
goodness. Yeah. If I'm the Detroit Lions, I'm extending Aiden Hudson right now for the next 20 years. Right now, before Micah Parsons get paid. I just keep extending. Just keep going. There you are.
And who's the biggest winner in all this? The Raiders. They got Max Crosby done before all of it.
You called it, Jake. You said it at the time, and you've been saying this since we started this podcast. Pay your guys early. Get them paid.
If the Raiders are making the Raiders look well run, you're in a banging trouble.
Well, again, and I'm going to do it twice in one podcast, but I get back to my own team. They paid Zach Allen. They paid Zach Allen, who had the most pressures of any defensive tackle in the league. Get him paid. Cortland Sutton comes up. Get him paid. Because they know everyone else. It just keeps going up. Don't wait. If your guy is valuable, get him paid. We saw what happened with the Bengals. Dragging their heels on T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. You're thinking, what are you doing? And they ended up paying them probably an extra 10, 15, 20% more than they would have done if they just paid them a year earlier. So it's ridiculous. I don't know why these teams are doing it. Sorry, Dave.
I was going to say with the Bengals, when you said, I think it was Jake that said, who's the biggest winners? I was going to say Trey Hendrickson.
Yes.
He's a big winner here. And then you'll have a couple of edge players coming through as well, a couple of defensive line guys coming through. The Bengals have just cost themselves, probably an extra couple of million. If Parsons or Hudson gets paid before Hendrickson, that just costs them another few million.
Well, they need to pay Hendrickson.
Yeah.
Hutchinson doesn't need to be paid yet. I said extended. He doesn't need that extension.
That would just be the smart thing to do.
It would be the smart thing to do, but they don't need to do it. They can leave it another year. Hendrickson hasn't, to the best of my knowledge, he's not been paid yet by Cincinnati. If Parsons gets paid before Hendrickson, then the Bengals have done it again. And you're like, what are you doing? Just pay your guys. What's wrong with you? Anyway, can't talk about the Bengals anymore. Or indeed the Cowboys, because we've got another team to move on to. It is the New York Football Giants. Now, last year, they were 3-14. They scored 273 points, 31st in the NFL. Not great. They allowed 415, 22nd in the NFL. They allowed negative 142 point differential there. Dave, the Giants, not much we can say. They have chopped up this team, put it through a grinder, spat out what's there, and we're looking at it and going, what is going to happen? Because as we know, they have some talented players in the Giants. We know this. And then we look at the quarterback room and we go, is it any better? It's difficult to tell. New York Giants, Dave Somerville, take it away.
Do you know, I was going to speak on a couple of the free agencies and then move on to the quarterback situation. But I'll start with the quarterback situation since you mentioned it, because looking into this deep dive, I like most of us, just kind of laughed at the Giants situation. But looking into it, I think they've actually come up with their own kind of 3 to 4 year plan with this window. And that plan is Russell Wilson for this year, assuming that, if he stabilizes that quarterback room, just say reevaluate come week 5, week 6, right? So if they get off to a decent start, they've got Russell Wilson, they've got an experienced quarterback. Something goes wrong with him. You've got Jameis there, who they brought in on a 2-year deal. So Jameis is going to be there for the next 2 years. Russell Wilson's on a 1-year, $21 million deal, but it's only 10.5 is guaranteed. So it's a veteran to stabilize the room. Then you've got Jackson Dart, who drafted in the first round. Those 3 quarterbacks, Russell Wilson for this year, either Dart or Winston for the next year for year 2. Then probably Dart for year 3, and then Dart for year 4 to round out his rookie contract, and you've got the 5th year option as well. I think that's their plan for the next 4 to 5 years for the quarterback room. Which, if Dart turns out to be good, and he's got Russell Wilson for this year to learn off or something, and Jameson to be a cheerleader for him, then that'll be good as well. That's what I think on the quarterback situation. A couple key signings though they made in free agency though was the ones I picked out: Javon Holland and Paulson Adebo in the backfield. Now we were talking about that their defense was a lot better than their offense. I think they're just going to solidify their defense, try to make it as difficult as possible to break them down, and try to grind out some wins this year. I think that they're going to go for that. We're going to be as difficult to beat as possible. And we're not going to be difficult on your defense, but that's probably what's going to happen. They drafted very well, as far as I can see. Abdul Carter and Jackson Dart, obviously in the first round. They drafted up for Dart because I think they saw what was going to happen in rounds 2 and 3, what kind of was going to be available, and they didn't like it, so they went for Jackson Dart. But I think that Holland and Adebo really solidifies that secondary. I think they didn't replace McKinney. That was a big thing at the back for them. McKinney, they just did not replace whatsoever. They brought in Abdul Carter. They brought in, I think they drafted Alexander, I want to say, in the 3rd round. I don't have the list in front of me. But they've got almost a brand new defensive line, but Abdul Carter looks an absolute monster from what I've seen in the preseason. They've also got Cam Scatterbo at running back, there's big things being talked about him. They've got a few undrafted free agents who they're really happy with. Malik Neighbors is obviously a kind of standout rookie wide receiver last year. They've got an undrafted rookie wide receiver in Bo Collins, who is looking very, very, very impressive apparently. But yet they just seem to be a little bit better than last year. They couldn't get much worse, but they're a little bit better than last year. It couldn't get much worse, so let's just hope for the sake of the New York Football Giants that they grind out some of those wins.
And Jake, what I don't understand about this Giants off-season is that they knew that they probably knew that they were going to be drafting Jackson Dart. So they already had Drew Lock. Why, after then signing Jameis Winston, do you sign Russell Wilson for $20 million? Because do they think that having Russell Wilson there is going to get them to the playoffs? Because that's the only reason that you would sign this guy. It's literally the only reason I can think of why you would sign Russell Wilson is that you think, I want to get to the playoffs this year. And I don't think Jameis is good enough. We got rid of Drew Lock because we don't think he's good enough. And we don't think Jackson Dart is ready. Well, if that's the case, why did you sign Jameis Winston? It beggars belief of what this Giants team is doing in the quarterback room. As Dave said, they've got talent elsewhere, particularly on the defensive side. They've actually got quite a lot of talent. But this quarterback room is killing me. And Malik Neighbors is going to be going, come on, guys. Throw me a bone here. Jake, what do you think of the New York Giants?
Yeah, you had to bring in a veteran because they have the toughest strength of schedule. I don't have a tough stretch for you on the Giants because the whole thing is a tough stretch. I mean, they play against 10 playoff teams. They don't have their bye until week 14. And I think that is a huge thing where we're not going to see Jackson Dart early because it doesn't help anybody throwing a rookie onto a pretty under-talented offense with a shaky offensive line with the worst strength of schedule. Because he's going to get sacked, he's going to get killed, his confidence is going to get absolutely killed. So fine, you bring in Jameis Winston, he'll make it fun. Oh, fine, you bring in Russell Wilson, he'll be a steady leader, he can hopefully mentor Jackson. One or the other. I don't know why they brought in two. It makes absolutely zero sense. One or the other would have been perfect because you've got Tommy DeVito who can come in if you really need him. You had Drew Lock, obviously he's gone. If you bring in one veteran, I would say that's a great move because you don't want to put your rookie out there to the dogs. No. So you have the veteran. By week 15, you're probably 1-14. Throw the rookie out, see what he's got. Everybody's happy. You get a good draft pick. If the rookie sucks, you're picking high. If he's got something about him, you're still picking high, and you've got your future quarterback. Yeah. Win-win. The two quarterbacks, I don't have an answer for you. One would have been suffice.
It would have been, and Patrick, I'm not going to beat a dead horse here with the quarterback situation, but because it just has been an absolute disaster. This whole offseason, it made no sense for the Giants fans. And we look at some of the other players on this team, and particularly the defensive side of the ball. They have some, again, that front seven, they've got some good players there in New York. Kind of gets let down if they don't get to the quarterback because that secondary is not looking spectacular. Do you think the Giants have got much of a chance to improve this year?
I mean, the biggest question mark is the quarterback room, and without having faith in that, it's hard to have faith in a team to win. And I don't see how you can, based on what Wilson and Winston have put up in recent seasons. It's going to take them being out of the way early and Jackson Dart being incredibly above the level you would expect for a rookie with his pedigree to propel this team to anything like a winning record. And Jake's right, their strength of schedule is horrendous. It's a bizarre one because, when they extended Daniel Jones, everyone was like, you've seen him play, right? What are you doing? And they've just compounded finally escaping that contract with bringing in Russell Wilson, who looks done and has looked done for 3 seasons at this point.
Yeah.
So they're magically expecting him to get back what he was doing 5 years ago. Winston, who is a backup who chucks a lot of picks and makes a lot of downfield completions, but it's not a reliable quarterback who's going to win you enough games to make a postseason if he's the starter. It's a mess. And all right, they've got some better weapons. Their receiving core looks more full than it did last year with Lil Hump coming in and Zach Pascal, but you just don't have the confidence that they're going to be able to use the extra weaponry, and I don't have the confidence that that offense can do enough despite how good the defense looks. So, yeah, I have the Giants staying last in the division.
Oh, yeah. I think we all do. I'm pretty sure we all do.
That would be a bold prediction.
I just feel if I'm a Giants fan, I like the Giants organization as an entity. Historically, they've been very well run. They've won Super Bowls. They've been to multiple championship games. And you look at what just this past couple of years, you're thinking, what are you doing? Like, what?
Past couple of years. I mean, you're looking post Tom Coughlin at this point.
Well, actually, yeah. Do you know what? Yeah, you're absolutely right. If I'm a Giants fan, I say cut Russell Wilson right now. Throw Jameis out there for 12 weeks or 13 weeks or whatever it is. Yes, he's going to throw 20 interceptions, half a dozen pick sixes, but it'll be entertaining. He's also
Malik Neighbors will have 2,000 yards.
Malik Neighbors will go absolutely insane. He'll shatter records left, right, and center, and it'll be something to watch, because the only thing worse than watching a 3-14 team, if it's your team, is watching a boring 3-14 team, and that's what they will be if Russell Wilson is under center. I guarantee it.
And that's the problem with Dave's plan, that Joe Shane and Brian Dable have been there since 2022, right? So they're already entering year 3, 4, whatever that is. You've had some time to build up already. You can't be then saying, we just need another 3 years and then we'll get into a position where we can challenge for the division. It's like, that's like 7 years now. That's longer than the majority of head coaches and GMs get. Titans will have been through about 8 by that point.
Who was the quarterback for the last 3 years, though? That is what prevented them from really.
Yeah, but that you double down on, though, right?
But that's
your first bad decision.
Yeah. Well, exactly. We said this on this podcast when that contract for Daniel Jones was announced. We all said it. We said, this is insane. What have you been watching that makes you think this guy's worth $40 million a year? And he broke the quarterback mark. Everyone else is talking about, Dak 60. And Tua got 55. And I forget what Lawrence got, 50 something. Same. Yeah. It was like, it's breaking the market. Daniel Jones broke the market when he was getting paid more than 99% of the other quarterbacks in the NFL. And he was garbage. So this is on the Giants. That's what I'm saying. Jake's right. It probably has been since Tom Coughlin, when they had, a good team. Eli Manning was there. And whether or not you liked Eli Manning, whether or not you think Eli Manning might one day end up in the Hall of Fame, he was a damn sight better than anything they've put out since. So, we look at the Giants. I genuinely feel sorry for Giants fans going into this year. I do. I genuinely feel sorry for them, because especially if Russell Wilson's starting, I think you guys are going to watch an absolute horror show out there. I pray that heads prevail, and either Jackson Dart turns out to be spectacular, or you chuck Jameis out there, because it'll just be better to watch. There we go. So that wraps up our deep dive of the NFC East, gentlemen, but we still have time for our predictions. Now, who would like to go first with their predictions for the NFC East? Patrick, we've not seen you in a while.
Yes.
Been a couple of episodes. Go for it.
I like to throw extremes out there. So I have the Cowboys and the Eagles tied at 13-4 at the top of the division. Eagles winning it on strength of schedule, I guess. But Cowboys picking up the 5th seed. Now, I will say, I did this before the whole Micah Parsons debacle, and I didn't envisage a side.
We'll change all of these
in quite such a spectacular fashion, but I'm sticking with it.
We can redo predictions for division winners the week before kickoff, so don't worry about
it. Washington drops slightly to 11-6, but still make the 6th seed. And the New York Football Giants go 0-17 and have the first overall pick.
Right, I'll go next. I had the Giants at 0-17. I did. And I was like, no, I can't do that to them. That's just a bit mean. So I changed it up. The Giants will go 2-15. They will be at the bottom. The Giants will be in third place. The Dallas Cowboys. 9-8 for the Dallas Cowboys. That's what I've got them going. I just think it's too much change at the moment. They're not sure what they're doing. As I said, they're a year away. They're a year away from competing, Dallas Cowboys. In second place, with a 10-7 record and sneaking the 7th seed in the NFC, it's the reigning Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles.
Ooh. Excuse me?
It's the reigning Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles.
Got to keep the stat alive.
Got to keep the stat alive, which is why the Washington Commanders, I've got 11-6, just like you, Patrick, getting the 4th seed, win the division by 1 game over the Philadelphia Eagles. Those last 2 games, the last 3 games, back-to-back against Philadelphia there, I reckon the Commanders sneak it. So I've got the Washington Commanders winning the division at 11-6. Jake McGee, why don't you give us your predictions, pal?
Okay. Well, I break the stat. I've got the Philadelphia Eagles retaining their belt, going 12-5. I then have the Washington Commanders coming in second with a 10-7 record. In third place, only on, I don't even know how I'm going to split it, point differential, I have the Dallas Cowboys also going 10-7.
Ooh, 10-7.
And then the New York Football Giants win a game, 1-16.
1-16 for the Giants. Oh.
And it'll be Jackson Dart, week 17, and the Giants will be able to cling on to this shred of hope that they've got a quarterback.
See, the problem is there'll be Giants fans watching this or listening to this saying, how could you possibly say that? Your schedule is absolutely horrendous. It's horrendous. I had them 0-17. Sorry, Jake.
I'm jealous of them. You've got the toughest schedule. You've got a GM and a coach that are out of their depth, as far as I'm concerned. You can go 0-17, you get the first overall pick, and reboot. The best case scenario, and we'll talk about the Saints, I'm sure, in a few weeks.
Yeah.
The best case scenario for the Saints is that we look good but win 3 games and get a draft pick. The worst case scenario is we look okay and we win 7 games because you're just in mediocre land.
And then you don't even get
Yeah, the Giants are going to suck. We know they're going to suck. Hey, what's a good time to get the toughest strength of schedule? When you suck. Because you don't want to be a playoff team with the 30th strength of schedule and go, oh, God, what a terrible time to have a tough schedule. This is great for the Giants. Just enjoy the suck. You know you're not going to win many games. Hopefully Jameis Winston gets to play a few games so you have a bit of fun whilst watching.
Exactly.
But enjoy your first overall pick.
Yeah, and the good thing about the late bye week is it's the perfect time to replace your head coach and GM.
And see if your rookie quarterback's got anything about him.
Bring in Jackson Dart. Absolutely.
It's perfect. I know it sounds like it sucks and 0 wins, 2 wins, 1 wins. We're being so mean for Giants fans. Hey, enjoy it because I think you're in a better position than some teams in 2 years.
They will be in a better position if they win 1 or 2 games this year than they were last year. Mm-hmm. With their 3 wins, because if you get that number 1 pick, and I know it's tanking. It's not a thing in the NFL. No player wants to tank. But we know the fans are like, listen, if you go 0-6, 0-7, 0-8 to open the season, the fans are like, just phone it in. Phone it in. Go winless so that we can just get the number 1 pick.
Tell you right now, as a Saints fan, I would rather us win 3 games than 7. And that sounds ludicrous because I always want the Saints to win. I'm going to tune in every week. Yes. I'm going to hope the Saints win. But long term, I would rather us win 3 games. Nice. But you have to think about going forward. And like you say, the GM and the owner, well, the GM won't, the owner might be thinking that as well. The players, and certainly this GM and this coach will not be thinking that because they're fighting for their lives. They are fighting for their lives.
They are indeed. Dave Somerville, what are your predictions for the NFC East?
I don't think many of you are going to agree with my predictions, but I do have the Eagles winning the division. Again, I'm breaking the curse, and they're going to win with a record of 12-5. So I actually think that the bookmakers have a kind of spot. I think 11.5, Jake. I think you said earlier. That sounds about right. So I think they're just going to do slightly better than that. In second, with the positions changing on the very last week, the Washington Commanders' next 7th place is the 7th seed in the playoffs. They beat Philadelphia in Week 18, and the Cowboys lose their Week 18 game to the New York Giants. The Cowboys go 8-9. The Commanders go 9-8. Both going 8-8 into the last day, but the Washington come away with it. And the New York Football Giants finish 5-12. I'm much kinder than all of you.
Whoa. Do you know, because I wasn't sure where you were going when you said we won't agree with you, because we've all said the same thing you just said.
Round up at the end. The Giants 5-12.
Right. I'm sorry, Dave. I have to do this. And Jake and Patrick, I apologize. Dave, I'm going to call you out on your 5 wins. Oh. Tell me which 5 games they're going to win. How did you get 5 wins out of this?
At New Orleans.
No,
that's just disrespectful.
I just thought I'd start with that.
Okay, so at New Orleans, right?
I think they're going to grind out a win against the 49ers. Home to the 49ers.
Just end the podcast.
Okay, that's 2. Where's the other 3 coming from?
I think they're going to fluke a win against Green Bay.
Oh, my word.
Oh, just 2 of the best teams in the NFC.
Okay, carry on.
They're going to come off the bye, and they're going to shock Washington for their 4th win. And for the 5th one, they're going to beat Dallas in Week 18.
You think they're going to win 2 divisional games? And beat
2-4.
Green Bay and San Francisco, and they're going to beat the Saints in New Orleans.
I put the W beside those games just to spice things up a little bit.
But why?
Zesty.
You're insane.
Zesty.
You're absolutely insane. Right.
The Giants are going to get a couple sneaky wins, and they're going to shock us all.
Yeah, a couple, not 5.
Oh no, a couple more on top of the New Orleans one.
That's 3.
Right. Anyway, right. Dave has lost it. We're going to move on to our final segment, which is, of course, random stats. Patrick Jackson, not had you a couple of weeks, buddy. Give us your random stat.
All right, now to pull back the curtain a little bit, this is more fraught with danger than usual because I know there are 4 random stats in the can that I have not heard yet. So I could well be duplicating. I have no idea. My random stat this week is 4th down conversion percentages in 2024. Would anyone like to hazard a guess which NFL team had the best 4th down conversion percentage last season?
The Kansas City Chiefs.
Incorrect.
Son of a gun.
I'd go to Lions, but they did it so often that the percentages probably.
That's why I didn't say it. Yeah, I would have just thought the Eagles were the tush push.
Dave is the highest bidder. Eagles were 3rd on 70.97%. Buffalo ahead of them on 74.19%, and the much discussed aforementioned Washington Commanders led the way with 78.95% success on their 4th down attempts, which is very impressive over the course of the season. Looking across our teams, which I wish I hadn't because as ever the Jags are worst. Rams were 7th, 65.38. Denver 9th, 64 dead. New Orleans 17th, 55.56. Jags just behind them in 20th, 53.85%. Looking at the bottom 3, because the Titans are in there, they were the only teams below 40% in the league. Titans were 39.13 in 30th. The Steelers, thanks to Russell Wilson's capabilities, were 31st, 36.84% success. And last of all, the Dallas Cowboys, 35.71% success on 4th down attempts.
I would not have guessed that. That's pretty shocking. But a great stat, Patrick. Thank you. Dave Somerville, what's your random stat?
Okay, well, I have one that it's just about consistency, really. So, over the past 5 years, the Falcons have the fewest sacks, and the Steelers have the most.
Okay.
Over the last 10 years, the Falcons have the fewest sacks, and the Steelers have the most.
I'm sensing a pattern, but carry on.
Over the past 20 years, it is the same situation in the league. The Falcons have the fewest sacks and the Steelers have the most. And if you look at the Steelers in particular, consistency seems to be their key, such as Mike Tomlin. He's quite a consistent guy, consistently getting a plus 500 record, and the Falcons are just consistently funny to watch, for 283 reasons, maybe. But I think that the
Blow.
I saw that and I thought that can't be right. Then multiple sources said that this was correct, that the Steelers have the most sacks, and it's mostly down to one man that is still there to this day in TJ.
Cameron Hayward.
Yes, him too. Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's right as well. And the Falcons have the fewest. But the thing that kind of shocked me, Jake, you'll be able to shed more light on it. Grady Jarrett. Now, he was pretty much a stalwart for many years. What was he, a sack machine, or was he more just? Okay, was he like a run stopper than anything else? Because he was like a one-man wrecking ball at times, but was it just that he hasn't had much support over the years?
I mean, he's had like 30, like over 30 sacks in his career, but it's not ever been like a 12, 13 sacks a year kind of guy. I feel you've blown this stat about 2 weeks too early, because the Falcons drafted Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr., so you would hope that they are aware of this stat internally, and they're going to try and do something about it.
It's taken them 20 years to do something about it.
I was going to say, because Falcons fans have been screaming to draft a pass rusher in the first round for literally 20 years.
So it's like the Green Bay wide receiver.
It is. Can we please get one of these guys? Yeah.
But it's just a remarkable feat of consistency. And then obviously with the Steelers being very consistently slightly over 500.
The Steelers are one of the best run organizations in the NFL. We all know this.
In history.
Definitely. And one of the reasons has been the fact that they have always been able to find good defensive ends, defensive linemen, linebackers. They've just you go all the way back to the 70s. All the way back. They've got so many. It's just ridiculous. Guys like Kevin Green, who they got from the Rams, I think it was.
Yes.
Kevin Green came from the Rams. And there was the big guy whose name I've completely forgotten, number 92, got the 100-yard interception against the Cardinals in the Super Bowl.
Oh, God, yes.
Harrison. Yes. Guys like that. They've been there. It feels like the Steelers have never not had an absolute stud pass rusher. That's what it feels like. They've always had one. And never mind. Old Cam, Jake? Oh, Cam there. He's done pretty well for himself.
Of course.
The big question, of course, is how many of the sacks were when the quarterback was in shotgun?
Yes, it is. Jake McGee, would you like to go for your random stat, please?
Certainly, and I was looking at games won in the 2024 regular season without ever trailing. And the New York Giants, the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Chicago Bears won 0 games without ever trailing, which, shouldn't really surprise any of us. The Green Bay Packers, the Baltimore Ravens, and the Philadelphia Eagles won 7 games without ever trailing last year, which is pretty phenomenal. The Lions and the Texans did it 6 times. Bills, Commanders, Bucks, Saints, Vikings, and Bengals did it 5 times.
What are the Saints doing there, Jake?
I know the first 2 games, that makes sense, but I don't know where the other 3 happened. Memory loss for me. Denver did it 4 times. The Rams only did it twice, as did the Cowboys. And sadly, Jacksonville Jaguars only did it the 1 time.
That's worth it for Travis Hunter, it's fine.
Yes, well, that's it. It paid off.
Paid off. Guys have a great draft pick there. And we all think, I can't wait to see Travis Hunter this year. Can't wait. That's a great stat, Jake. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Right. My random stat, I was researching a stat for our NFC West deep dive. Okay? Because I'd heard it, and I thought, I want to research it. And then as I was researching the stat for the NFC West, I spotted something. I went, oh, this is going in the NFC East. I can't wait. It's too good. So, since 1975, the AFC and the NFC have had seeds. Yeah, because prior to 1975, there were no seeds. It was basically just a lottery. So you could go undefeated and then end up playing away in the playoffs. It was ridiculous. But in 1975, they introduced seeds. So I was looking at, my initial thing was to look at which team has had the most number one seeds in the NFL. Now, I'll actually throw it out to you guys. Jake, who do you think? Which team has been number one seed in that conference the most? You're muted.
I am muted, don't worry. I was just rambling. I was like, could be the Patriots, but 75. I'm going to go the 49ers.
Going the 49ers. Patrick Jackson, any advance on the 49ers?
I'll go Patriots then.
Patriots. Dave.
Go for Cowboys.
Cowboys. Jake wins. 49ers. This was my initial random stat I was going to say for the West. They have been the number one seed in the NFC 10 times. The last time was in 2023. So what I'm going to do now is go through some of the other teams who have been the number one seed. This is not a random stat yet. We're building up to it. New England Patriots, 7 times. Last time, 2017. Pittsburgh Steelers, Kansas City Chiefs, and Dallas Cowboys have all done it 6 times. Steelers in 2004, Chiefs in 2024, Cowboys in 2016. That's the last time that they did it. The Detroit Lions have done it once. Last year. The first time they've ever been the number one seed. Our own teams. Let's have a look at our own teams, shall we? The Jacksonville Jaguars did it once in 1999. Yes. The Rams twice in St. Louis. Once in Los Angeles, 3 times. 2001 was the last time the Rams were the number one seed in the NFC. New Orleans Saints have done it twice. 2009, 2018.
Thank you, Drew Brees.
Denver Broncos, I was very, very happy with this, 8 times. Last time in 2015. Now, there's more to this stat. This stat keeps on giving. There are 4 teams who have never had the number one seed in their conference. The Arizona Cardinals, the oldest franchise in the NFL, have never had the number one seed. The Houston Texans, they get a pass. They only come in 2002. That's absolutely fine. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have never had the number one seed in the NFC. And the New York Jets have never had the number one seed. Notable ones who have had the number one seed, which I was like, huh? But then I was like, of course they did. The Panthers, 2015, were number one seed. The Browns, in 1986, got the number one seed. The Ravens have done it twice. Technically, they were the Browns in 1986. Just saying. And the Titans, 3 times, have been the number one seed in the AFC, never as the Houston Oilers. So it's only after they became the Titans. And here it is. 1 team, only one in the history since 1975, has been the number one seed 3 years running. Take a guess. Dave, who? Which is the only team that has been number one seed in their conference 3 years in a row? Go for it.
I mean, I would have said the Chiefs, but I think I'm probably wrong.
You are wrong.
Okay, thank you.
You're definitely wrong. Patrick Jackson, 1 team has been number one seed in their conference 3 years running. Who is it?
Washington.
It's good, but it's not right. Jake McGee, 1 team.
Go. Jimmy Johnson's Cowboys.
Jimmy Johnson's Cowboys is an excellent idea, but it's wrong. But it is an NFC East team.
Don't tell me it was the 85 Giants.
No, it wasn't. They were number one seed in 1986. The only team since the seeds came in 1975 to be the number one seed 3 years running was the 2002, 2003, and 2004 Philadelphia Eagles. And that
Who was their coach?
Who was their coach?
I mean, technically I got a little bit right since the Chiefs were, they were their coach, that's it. That's where it stops. Like,
For those playing at home, the coach was Andy Reid.
It was Andy Reid was the coach. So they are the only team in NFL history to have 3 consecutive number one seeds. Philadelphia Eagles 2002, 2003, 2004, and that, after much deliberation, is my random stat. So there we go.
Clap.
Oh, Patrick having to write that up.
Sorry about that. Yeah, Patrick, you don't need to write all of that up. I was literally looking up who's been number one the most, and it was the 49ers. I was like, I'll use that for the NFC West. That's where it came from. And then I spotted Philadelphia 3 in a row and went, hang on a second, has that ever been done before or since? No. So yeah, that's it. Wonderful. Gentlemen, that was a good podcast. Thoroughly enjoyed that. That was the NFC East. Our next one will be the NFC North, where we'll be getting joined by Ben Isaacs, Chicago Bears fan and author. That will be our next upload. So thank you to everyone. Thank you to Jake McGee for joining us.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you to Dave Somerville.
We're so close now, guys. We are just a few weeks away.
Oh, we are. We're just a few weeks because kickoff is just around the corner. Big thank you to Patrick Jackson. Good to see you again, Patrick.
Yep, you're very welcome. I'll see you for the NFC West.
Yes, you will. Thank you to everyone listening at home. Don't forget you can find us on Twitter, X, Twix, whatever you want to call it, Instagram, and of course YouTube. If you've not subscribed to our YouTube channel, get on there, check out the videos, and give us a wee thumbs up, or even a wee comment. Don't forget you can always submit a random stat to us. Just give us a wee message on Twitter to do that, or put it in the comments of one of our YouTube videos. Thank you to everyone in here. Thank you to everyone listening at home, and we will see you on next week's edition of the WINFL Show.
And we're clear.